guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my top non-fiction books. Now, I was going to do top 5 and then I kind of added a few extra books in and I'm like, I can't do 5, I don't have enough to do 10. Let's just do top. Let's just do some that I recommend. I'm also going to recommend some books to you that I don't physically own anymore because I don't always keep my books. Some books I've given away that I'm kind of regretting not keeping, but hey ho, that's life. But I do want to talk about some of the best books. So the top books I'll obviously talk about now, and then I'll mention some other books at the end. Okay, hope that's all right. Now I've tried to mix them up. I've only got one really sort of historical non-fiction book, but I've got a couple of medical memoirs. I've got some mental health books that I have found very helpful, and another couple of books. So hope you like what you read, hope you like what you see, and I hope if you will pick some of these books up. Now the first one is my historical one because Chris bought me this last year when we were in lockdown, and this is Queen Victoria's Matchmaking, and this is by Deborah Cadbury. Now this is about Queen Victoria, obviously, and about how she match-made her children, because she had quite a few children. And this book's got pictures in it. It's brilliant. I've just recently read one of her other books on her sons, but I didn't find that as interesting, to be honest. But this one is fascinating. Sorry, I'm just trying. There's the world map. There is, look, the family tree, which I obviously can't see because it's in detail. But she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think 9 children. And they sort of shaped Europe, basically, because a lot of her marriages have shaped the way the history has gone. We obviously she had her first daughter, Victoria, and she married the German Emperor, Frederick III. And one of their sons was that Kaiser guy, that really bad guy who sort of set off World War One. That was, Wilhelm II, that was a baddie, very big baddie in her history. Then there was Albert Edward, her second son, who was ultimately the way the family line has gone down in our royal family in the UK. And he had quite a few children, and so he was quite a big one. Then he had Alice, who died. I think she died quite young. She married someone called Ludwig the Fourth. Then it was Alfred, who married a lady called Maria. Then Helena and Louise and Arthur and Leopold and Beatrice, who was the baby. She had Beatrice quite young. Beatrice was one of the youngest ones, was the youngest child. Leopold was the poor one who died because he had that blood clotting haemophilia. But this book I found very interesting because it talks about her different relationships with her children. Now, she wasn't as close to her eldest children. She sort of she didn't find motherhood the easiest of journeys. And yet by the time she had her youngest children, she was really close to them. So it's quite interesting, quite history. It's interesting to see how the marriage is affected, how she got closer to her eldest daughter, Vicky. I think they called her Vicky. And that was quite interesting how they became closer when Vicky became an adult and relationships changed. We all know parenthood can change us, but I found this book very fascinating and really interesting. I love books on the royal family, and this one is probably the top of everything. The fact that it's here shows you how amazing it was. Now I've got a book that I was sent for the publishers last year, and this is Cerebral Palsy, a story by Ilana Estelle. And this is quite interesting because it does give you Finding Calm After Storm. It does give you quite a lot of facts on cerebral palsy. It gives you facts on how to sort of deal with things. This book's quite interesting. She was born the second of premature twins. Alana knew she was different from a young age, but for all the wrong reasons. This is a part memoir and part motivational guide. This is quite fascinating. I think it really helps you put things into perspective about our own battles and our own journeys. So that's why I recommend this one. Now the next one, I could easily say this one, and it's the next book by the author, which was The Prison Doctor of Women Behind Bars. Stupidly left that on the shelf. But this one, The Prison Doctor, is absolutely fascinating. I really thought this book was so hard-hitting, and oh my goodness. what this woman, what these doctors that are doctors in prisons went through is unbelievable. Their stories, all the stories in this were fascinating, and the ones in the next book were just as fascinating as well. I think both books are amazing, and it really puts you in perspective, because obviously what they go through and what these doctors sort of faced in prison was quite treacherous. In this first book, she really goes through it, and she goes from being a GP to being a prison doctor, and all the battles and everything. From miraculous pregnancies to dirty protests, from violent attacks on prisoners to heartbreaking acts of self-harm, she's witnessed it all from her patients. This is very, very hard-hitting, beautifully written, amazing book. I really can't recommend this or the sequel enough. I really can't. I'd love to know if the author's going to write more books, because I'll certainly pick them up. Then, actually, no, I'm going to save this book till the end, so Mia's going to have to look up that. She's still here. So the next two books are mental health books that I found fascinating. This one, again, I got sent by Tandem, and it's a practical mental health guide. I may read this again soon, because this is brilliant. It's by a guy called Daniel Howell, who actually my sister-in-law has actually met. And he's actually a local boy. He went to the school that Chris went to, my partner went to, but a few years younger than him. Mental health is something we all have, but not enough for all of us to understand. It's a no-nonsense guide. Daniel Howell, he has dark humour and everything, but he talks about his personal struggles with depression and anxiety, which you guys know that I currently suffer from. I may well actually look at this for the night thing, because I'm currently suffering from insomnia at the moment. And What You Sleep. This is brilliant. I found this a really good guide. It's got quite a lot of information in it. It talks about sort of how to face the journeys. It's basically broken into 3 sections. And I should have planned this video more, but I didn't, because you know what I'm like. And it talks about the different ways we go through depression and you can read it at different times. I think that's why I've kept this on the shelf. It's got some great quotes in here. Don't approach exercise from a desire just to look good, and focus on how it can make you feel good. There's another one here. It's very human to imagine the worst case scenario. Don't we all do that? And then it's just like when you're feeling bad and need immediate change. And it's got some really great guides, and I found this really, really helpful. Like I said, I will read this at some point. Then another book is one that I've only just read, so you guys would have seen it in my wrap-ups. The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. This is all over BookTube, all over Bookstagram. Matt Haig has written quite a lot of non-fiction books. He's also written some middle grade books, which I'm going to be reading in December. I'm going to nick one of Mia's books that I can add to my December TBR. But he's written quite a few. He's written loads, and this is one of the ones that I've got. I need to get the rest of them. I think they're really fascinating. Let's see if I can find what other books he's got. But this one was brilliant. So he's also written Notes on a Never's Planet. I found he has non-fiction books, which I thought, no, fiction books which were good, which How to Stop Time, which I loved, The Midnight Library, which I really want at some point. Actually, I might put that on my Amazon wish list. I know what I'm like, I always think about things, but he's written loads of different guides, and I found this one really helpful. It's broken down into really short bits. It's got quotes that I found were really helpful, and you can hear me looking through this because I'm so awful. It's okay to be broken. I think there's some great quotes in this. And actually I have saved one here. See, I did think of something. A reminder for tough times. One day this will be over, and we will be grateful for life in ways we never thought possible before. That's a fantastic quote, and I think that one to me really stood out. And I think that was probably one of my favourite quotes. And there's another one here, actually. I've just randomly flicked past it, and it's about Wolf. Crying releases stress hormones. Swearing increases pain and tolerance. Fury can motivate us into action. Feel what you feel. Silence and smiles aren't the only way to respond to pain. Sometimes it's good to howl. And I think that's so important, because so often we think it's wrong to cry or to scream or to shout, when actually it may well help us make us feel better. So this book is a great mental health guide, and I thoroughly recommend it. If you, like I said, he's written quite a few other non-fiction books that I totally recommend. And I think Notes on an Angry Planet, he's written, oh yeah, here we go. Reasons to Stay Alive, Notes on an Angry Planet. They're 2 fantastic mental health guides that I really recommend. So that's that one. Now the next two are again medical memoirs. The first one here is one that I got last year again. It was written during the COVID crisis of last year. We're still going through the bloody thing. Flipping had enough. I'm really ready to drop with it. But I bought this last year because this author has written quite a few books, and she's written one about being nice. I think it's Kindness to Care or something she's written. But this one I bought last year, yeah, The Language of Kindness, and I found that was fascinating. But this one she wrote during the COVID crisis at the start, and this is really important, an inspiring book for challenging times. I have got another book on my shelves about a nurse's story during the COVID crisis, and this one made me cry. And I read it last year while it was still all happening, and I'm going to read it again because, like I said, we're still going through it. Nurses have never been more important. We benefit from their expertise in hospitals and beyond, in our schools, on the streets, in prisons, hospitals and care homes. When you feel most alone, nurses remind us we're not alone. And this is not just about the COVID crisis, and it does tackle other bits in this book. It's fact she worked in the paediatrics department. She's worked in various departments. Yes, COVID is in it a bit, but it's not just about COVID. It's about nurses in general. Now, you all know my history. You all know that I've been in and out of hospital a fair bit over the last 20 odd years. Most recently, nearly 2 years ago, I had my operation for my knee, and we all know that it went a bit tits up at one point, and I was quite in a bit of danger, and I was in hospital a bit longer than I expected to be, and it was the nurses that kept me going. The doctors saved me. The doctors did an amazing job, and I will always be grateful. Also, I've had my car accident, so I know about the nurses. Now, a fair bit about the NHS, don't I? But the nurses, their care, their love, their determination when we couldn't have people at home. And during the COVID crisis, they were the ones that had all the care contact with their patients. People weren't allowed in hospitals. People weren't allowed to have their friends and families by their side. So the nurses had to be the role of friends and family, holding hands with loved ones, and they did an amazing job. Now, my cousin is a senior nurse in a hospital near me, and I will be forever in his, I'm the most proud of him. I think he's the most amazing guy ever because of what he does. I'm proud of all my family, but his job is amazing. He really reaches out, and during the COVID crisis, I was worried silly. Before we had the jabs, when they were literally, their lives were at risk, I was so scared for him, and this puts it all into perspective. And all hands down, we respect all the key workers during COVID, and they're still doing it. And this book really strings out to me, so please buy it, support this person, let's support the NHS. Then, the book that started me on non-fiction, my favourite book of 2019, This Is Gonna Hurt by Adam Kay. Now, he has got the 12th Night Before Christmas. He's written other books, but this will always be my favourite of his, because this is about the story where he went from being a doctor and to ending his time in the NHS because of something that happens towards the end of this book. And there are stories that break your heart in this book, and there are stories that make you laugh. This is amazing. It deserves every bit of credit that it got back in 2018, 2019, when it was first published, right? It is brilliant. I loved it. I think, again, it talks about the doctors. It talks about his journey to becoming a doctor, to what changed him. This is all being credit amazing. Now, there are a couple of books now that I want to talk about that I think deserve recognition, that maybe not here because they've not been fantastic enough for me to keep, or for one reason or another I didn't keep them. Actually, there is one book I've got on my shelves that sorry guys, I'm a bit dozy at the moment. We've got Dean at NHS, which Adam Kay put together, which is a short stories of letters to the NHS from public figures, from celebrities, and it's brilliant again. And that money went towards the NHS. That was published during the COVID crisis of last year, the first crisis. First crisis, please bear with me. Then we've also got the Call the Midwife books. I think the first Call the Midwife book is by far the best, and I think it's amazing. So those books are great. I think, like I said, the other Adam Kay books, we've got so many great non-fiction books out there. I also fully recommend Kathy Glass's books on fostering. I've read so many of them, but I've not really kept them. I've still got a few more to read. I need to tackle them. I'm trying to read them slowly because they're really, really good. If you want books on foster care, She is an amazing foster care. She's an amazing author on that. She does brilliant books. I've got some other books. Like I said, I've got loads more non-fiction books to read that I want to get to. For the love of Bob. So those books are about animals and how pets can change you. I've got so many more non-fiction books on my shelves that I would like to get to. At some point, I may do a non-fiction book, another video on the non-fiction books I get to read and get you guys to vote on them. You've already picked your choice for 2020, for December of my non-fiction books. I'm going to be reading The Duchess, which I'm fascinated by. I've got 3 Women to Read by Lisa Taddeo, which has had the booktube rounds. I can't wait to get to it. And I've got books on the show. You know, Mia's offering to get me some books, but don't worry, I've talked about them. This video will get too long if I carry on going, but she's amazing. She's my little helper here. Anyway, guys, what non-fiction books do you recommend that I read? I would love to know. I'd love to get some recommendations in the comments below about what non-fiction books to look for. And I hope you like the ones I've recommended today. If you have liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.